Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to VanillaTV, where we have an awesome night of Team Fortress 2 action in store for you, we hope. It's a little bit doubtedly so far. I've seen multiple comments throughout the afternoon about this game, but I have a man on the show today, which is going to tell us all about why Quarantine is going to be having a good show here today. At least I hope, because honestly, sometimes I'm not going to be able to see it. I'm very curious. Admirable, James, how are you doing today?
Man, I am good. Just had a piece of fruit, a plum no less. I've got fructose in my body.
Nice.
I'm supercharged for this cast. And I can tell you that, yeah, a lot of people are saying that Epsilon are going to smash it, and there's a high probability that will happen. But one man has spoken out against this tyranny. It's none other than Tarkus, a man who has extra sensory perception. So much so that he actually got banned for it. I don't think Tarkus was cheating. Show me the evidence. Oh wait, it was on my server. I have the evidence. Tarkus. What? But he reckons that Quarantine are going to come out with 1 point from this game. That's 1 point in the league. That means they're going to get to a golden cap, but they're going to lose. Very precise prediction here from Tarkus. He says it's going to be 5-0 Gully to Epsilon, then a 2-2 golden cap loss. So Epsilon taking it on a golden cap on Snakewater as well.
Alright, so he's very much saying Gullywash is not going to be close whatsoever, and Snakewater might be cool. That's pretty much his prediction. We're going to have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. If you have Epsilon coming up against Quarantine here, there's really only one favourite, and that is Epsilon. Ever since I-46, well, even before I-46, Epsilon was the favourite with anything with regards to Europe. It's been a long while since anyone has been able to take a map off them. The last time that happened was at I-46, and they managed to actually get into third place. First and second were Americans. Yeah, let's not go into that much detail about I-46, but Epsilon was the best European team there. They have been the best European team for a long time, and while Cracklam with my man James here is trying to take that off him, Epsilon are still firmly in the #1 spot, at least so far, and they're looking to continue that tonight against Quarantine.
Yeah man, Epsilon are going to be #1 until the end of the season, and whether or not someone can beat them, but until then they're the champions, and that's the way you have to look at it. Like, people are talking and questioning why we're even covering this game, but like, I think it's ridiculous that we wouldn't cover it, man. They're the champions, they're the pinnacle of TF2. Is it a crime that they're so good that their games are going to possibly be a lot of 5-0s? Is that not still worth watching?
Well, you know what I say usually, and this is something I've used to watch a lot of StarCraft and a lot of League of Legends that I still do, and it's always very nice. Like, if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to be a better player, you watch these casts and you want to see the very best teams play, isn't it like the very best thing? What does Epsilon do that makes them win everything? Just copy their strategies. Seriously, you can copy absolutely everything you're going to see here tonight from Epsilon. We have the source TVs, we have the relays, we have the logs, we have everything to our capability, plus a cost where me and Admirable are just going to analyze the shit out of this stuff. And you can copy absolutely anything. And while that is maybe not as entertaining if it's a 5-0, 5-0, I'm not saying this is going to be a 5-0, 5-0, but say this game is going to be a 5-0, 5-0, you have this massive amount of knowledge which you can use for the next matches if you're playing against Epsilon, in Admirable's case.
Yeah, it's true. Like, some of our best strategies in Crack Clan are just things we saw Epsilon do and tried to copy and get the timings down on, like in terms of middle strategies. So Pledge is absolutely right. This is a great time to learn. It mightn't be a closely fought match unless Tarkus is proven right, but definitely we can see how TF2 should be played.
Let's get our notepads out. I think that's a good idea. Let's get our notepads out and make notes about this game. I'm definitely going to be doing that. I usually watch the source TVs after the games that I cast to make notes about teams. I'm going to be doing the same thing tomorrow morning when I rewatch these games, making sure I have my notes down for the rest of the season. I'm curious though, because obviously as good as Epsilon is, Quarantine, they managed to beat Pyrogen maybe a little bit surprisingly, but it looked really, really strong from them. Just a couple of days ago, about a week ago, I think it was, that they played against Pyrogen and they managed to win them on both maps. No golden caps, nothing. It was very impressive, and I'm very curious to see what Quarantine is going to be able to do. We have just gone live here, ladies and gentlemen, so officially I'd like to welcome you guys to VanillaTV here, where we have ETF2L Week 3 going live. Gullywash and Snakewater are the maps, and we have Quarantine in the blue going up against the champions, Epsilon Esports, who are the big favourites coming into this. Pledge and Reveral on the mics. First middle going right underway, and I see the aggression from Epsilon, but Quarantine looking quite strong.
Yeah, they've actually managed to work their way up on the right side. Now Nox is getting separated from his combo. He does manage to find a soldier again, but we see Lemon up there on the left. He's now getting counter jump. Lemon jumps in, he's going to chase after Nox. He gets him with the second rocket, and that just about saves face because the rest of Quarantine seemed to get cleaned up there.
The start wasn't too bad from Quarantine there whatsoever. They got the first kill, managed to get first blood onto this map, but immediately Epsilon countered that, playing it better, getting the focus down, managing to completely clean it up. Nox has gone down though, no Uber whatsoever for him. kritzonite even with a slight advantage here. And yeah, Quarantine is going to be able to defend this second point quite effectively. Nothing the people in red can do here. Mike even goes down. It's a 6 versus 5. Quarantine might fancy pushing on this one.
Yeah, that's not really the style that Quarantine plays, but they are going to try and push in here, and I'm expecting them... Oh, Nox is dangerously positioned there. They haven't realised that the medic's just on the floor. He's trying to save his scout. Now he is healing up numlocked, but they've taken their eye off the choke. This is really sloppy, actually, from Epsilon. They're trying to be everywhere at once, and they've allowed players in from both sides, and Quarantine choke goes down, and the Uber advantage is almost up. kritzonite pops off. They're going to try and chase out a soldier here on choke. That's Mike, who just manages to jump away, so that's Mike, Mitsy, Nox running for their lives right now. Nox has got that normal Uber charge coming up. They're going to just re-push here instantly. Uber gets popped off as numlocked jumps in. He's going to try and chase down some frags from Quarantine, but they've been well positioned to get out on that big door. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but they definitely managed to make it out alive. They read that Uber situation well, I guess.
I'm thinking Quarantine is going to try and poke in here a little bit, at least get a couple of stickies down. They do have a slight Uber advantage here, sitting on this choke area. Lime has just spawned right now, the roaming soldier for Quarantine, managing to get a little bit of damage done, but not getting the pick on the medic. Numlock's reasonably aggressive here, and this is the Epsilon style we know and love, Admirable. They do this all the time.
Yeah, Bash goes down to koeijte on the flank though, and right now the spam from Epsilon is decent. Both teams have lost a player each. Actually, numlock's gone down. Devilman goes down there. That's so crucial, and instantly Epsilon back off. But Quarantine are already flooding through on the choke. They do manage to survive again, but Mike gets dropped this time, and it's going to be Uber versus Uber on choke. It looks like Mitsy is just staring full across the line here, and it looks like they're going to just go for it. Quarantine are just in position to go now. They've got Scout and Demoman. They're trying to do a little bit of damage before they enter, but they must realise that Mitsy's here in position to block with a counter Uber.
Let's see what team is going to be the first one to sort of bite into aggression. I think Quarantine really is just at this moment in time just really saying let's kind of look what Epsilon is doing. They're really trying to figure this match out. For Quarantine, this is going to be the hardest match this season. I'm quite sure that's the case. So they really want to make sure that they don't make any sloppy mistakes early. They're going to play it safe, see how this works out. Now the Uber comes across on choke though. It's a single Uber. Focus the enemy medic or focus a soldier or anything really. Force the enemy Uber and then drop out as fast as you possibly can. That's exactly what they do. Devilman is holding choke, and now this fight, sort of the after Uber fight, the post Uber fight, that's really where the action comes down. Kalho gets a frag, Lime gets taken down by Schocky, and we can see frags pretty much coming all over the place at this moment in time.
Yeah, that was pretty flaky from Quarantine. Like that Uber just wasn't good enough, didn't get the Uber forced quick enough, and kritzonite was lucky to get out with his life there, and they've had to forfeit the middle point, but already Epsilon are pushing through. They're going to work this man advantage, and the fact that Fuo was down, no demo man for Quarantine is vital. Numlocked can basically stop them from even challenging for this point with a few stickies on that door, but Epsilon already probing ahead, trying to get some more frags. They're not just happy to cap that point. They're just looking to see if they can get anything. Anybody from Quarantine is just going to step across too far and get taken out, but they're all playing super defensive. That's the Quarantine I know and love.
They're running an engineer, though. koeijte's running engineer, one of the scouts. The other scout is running sniper. Is that standard for Quarantine on Gullywash? I'm sure you've played them on this map.
I honestly can't say. I know they've been using NG a lot, actually. We saw that in the previous game we cast it against Pyrogen, that they love that NG on last if they have time for it. And it sounds like Uber's been popped off here, actually. Quarantine stepping into lobby.
I'm a little bit confused because they run an engineer and then they push sort of out with this Uber. It doesn't really seem to make sense to me because obviously they get into some sort of disadvantaged situation. Fuo goes down, Kalho goes down as well, who once again is going to get a minor warning for his name. And we're going to have to wait and see. Epsilon's going to try and push out on this now. Obviously, Sentry does come into use, but it's just going to get taken down immediately. And it seems like the push out from Quarantine may have been very risky and a little bit just off. It doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense to me, and Epsilon's just going to appreciate that, say thank you very much, and get that 1-0 lead.
Yeah, I mean, having NG in last is decent enough if you're only trying to cover for scout backcaps and things like that. You're usually going to leave somebody behind, so why not bring a soldier up and leave an NG on last? But really, they did overextend after they popped off that Uber. They had to realise that they hadn't done enough damage to go for that, but Epsilon just let them come forward and then destroyed them, and we're on to another middle here, and again we see Quarantine focusing that right side. Fu's coming up, but Epsilon have already got time on the point now. We see the Quarantine soldiers challenging. That's Lemon taking a lot of damage, but blocking the point at least. And Epsilon are just slowly but surely capping this point and getting frags at the same time. Now it's 3-on-4, and Quarantine, will he get out? There's kritzonite, he's in lobby. Yes, he goes for the med pack though.
Okay,
Ooh.
managed to dodge those rockets. I was really scared for him there for a little bit. Smike shooting in 2 rockets into that lobby area. kritzonite's going to be fine though. And Quarantine, to be fair, that middle wasn't too shaky, but I think they really didn't realise that positionally they were just behind for a little bit of that, and they managed to lose a couple of extra frags, then dropping out. Bash running that sniper rifle at this moment in time. Koeijte is running heavy, and zappis is running sniper as well, so we see a little bit of zappis versus Bash action here. Who's going to prevail, the German or the Finn? If I can take a guess, it's usually the Finnish guy, but Bash is really, really good at this game.
Yeah, Bash has been a great pick for Epsilon so far this season. I go out as far as to say that he is playing him better than Walters was at the last point he left. And he's going to snipe from Riverside now. He's got the demo in his sights, but Quarantine are well positioned, far close to that door out of the sniper line of sight, but there is a chance here that they'll try and create some space just for Bash to step in and try and get off that one lucky shot. So someone needs to really keep spamming him, and we do see that Lime is that man. Lemon doing a little bit of spam as well. They bomb in a soldier, he gets the force. Big play from Mike. Epsilon well positioned to hold their Uber, but an instant jump out from Lime actually gets the counter force. Wow, nice there. Little rocket skip jump. Sick play from Lime getting that pop off, and Bash comes in with a headshot onto that heavy weapons guy. His high health doesn't matter whenever you're getting a charged headshot, and Epsilon have sort of pushed it out a little bit. They lost Bash on the flank. They realised that they've got the man disadvantage, and they've decided to just step back and see if Quarantine want to push out and make any mistakes.
Protection onto numlocked wasn't perfect there. He ended up going down as well. And really, Quarantine just said, from now, this point on, we can actually hold this. So they were quite aggressive, didn't back into spawn, managed to block Epsilon out. But we can still see more or less the same lineups. Koeijte not playing heavy, but we do see double sniper. Not on one team, but one snipe on each team. And knowing Epsilon a little bit, they're probably, they actually are going to go downstairs. We've seen this. We haven't seen them do it specifically, but Epsilon's putting some pressure in from main and then trying to stick it in. I think Brego does this quite a bit for you guys, doesn't he? Where I can really see him coming from that bottom area, getting the stickies down and trying pressure from that side. Epsilon's trying to do the exact same thing here. They do have a slight Uber advantage. Demoman is scout on the point, but it's 3 versus a lot of people, and this strategy, Brego does this loads, Admirable. Can you tell me a little bit about this strategy where you just focus your Demoman down and really pressure the point more so than pressuring the enemy team?
Well, the Demoman's always key to pick on last, but if you're talking about coming up from the water, I think it's really, you want to exploit as many angles as possible. But back on this middle, we do see Nox is going to push underneath. He's pushing with numlocked straight under the point because he's... Wow, they picked up Lemon and Koeijte there. numlocked just walking forward and doing damage like the beast demo man that he is. And the kritzonite and Quarantine did not expect that one. Fu manages to pick up a nice air pipe onto Bash to save his medic, but he's laid down his own life. kritzonite will escape, but he's going to be at an uber disadvantage here, and Epsilon are just going to keep the pressure on. They're not going to commit to this because they know they're outnumbered with the spawns coming in, but right now they've got the point. Oh, they haven't even capped the point yet. Wow, the scouts are coming now from middle, and this is just a time when they've realised we don't need to go into this, guys. This is a bad idea. Let's just cap the point and regroup.
Epsilon does this on every single map all the time, where they just push on. As soon as they win the middle, they know they have an advantage, they just go, put pressure everywhere. And what they're going to try, I can only assume, really, is that they're going to bomb in, and they actually did do that. I completely missed that, as kritzonite is going to be forced to pop that Uber. I can only assume it was either Mike or Mitsy who jumped in there. Epsilon is immediately going to follow this up, though. 3 players getting Ubered in together with the medic. That's 4 players around the point, and a scout coming from underneath. Perfect execution for perfect attack after a perfect force. 3-0 already to Epsilon, and this is going really, really quick.
Yeah, Targus' prediction is looking good right now. I think kritzonite needs to be a little bit braver. He's getting forced all the time, and I'm not sure if that... I haven't watched from his POV, I'm not sure if that's his pocket soldier's fault or whatever, but he's definitely just popping those Ubers rather than gambling, and it's just given Epsilon advantage in all those last pushes. But right now we see Quarantine playing up on their own side this time. They haven't opted to push right. They're going to try and to play it safe, but big focus calls coming in there from Epsilon's numlocked onto Fuo. You saw everybody in Epsilon shooting Fuo there for a second, and that's how Epsilon worked. Numlocked calls out a name and everybody tries to make them die. But on the flank, because everybody was shooting Fuo, in came the rest of Quarantine, and now it's... Oh, Nox gets a little bit overzealous there, goes in for an Uber, so I think Numlocked was stuck in a reloading pattern. He wanted to try and make something happen, but... Everybody focused on Fuo, but they all died.
Yeah, I think it took them too long to kill him off, to be fair. Like, it took them a lot of resources, a couple of rockets, a couple of stickies, a couple of scattergun shots, all to kill Fuo. And while that is perfectly fine, Adoman is a very important part of a team. Obviously, Epsilon managing to just put too much resources into that, Quarantine picking up on it, and managing to get the wipe onto Epsilon. We see double multi-classers, though, and both of them are effective. I was about to say... Schocky went for Spy, Bash went for Sniper, and they both got a pick, of which Schocky obviously got the most important one, which is a drop medic Uber, which we saw just a second ago. So well played to Epsilon, showing that even in defensive positions they know exactly what to do.
Yeah, that was just perfectly executed. A bit of a gamble, of course, but they didn't see it coming. I guess Kritzonite should just be a little bit more scared. I play terribly paranoid plays. I'm always thinking they've got crits or they're spies, there's snipers watching me, you know. This is what you need to survive as medic.
Lime comes in onto Nox. Is he going to be able to get him? It looks like he is going to be able to get the Force. I'm not really sure why Nox forced there. I think he just felt uncomfortable trying to keep his players alive there. Like, yeah, but how much is a counter spy going to help when the enemy team is 6 versus 4 on your last point? Not really sure how much a spy can do in this scenario, James, as it's going to be 4-0 to Epsilon already.
Right, we said this was going to be educational pledge. We saw Shocky's example of how to do it and coaches of how not to do it. Don't be 100 meters behind the enemy combo as spy, unable to do anything.
High risk, high reward. That's how you play sniper or spy, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you do it. As soon as you have a massive Uber disadvantage, pick up that spy. You know, you might as well. On the offset, you do get the pick. It's going to be first sensational and secondly amazing. And we can see Epsilon.
Crits here for Kritzonite.
Okay, so he is going to run crit, so we'll have to wait and see. Lime actually gets a fantastic shot there onto Schocky, immediately drops to the floor, and the rest of Epsilon working their way up right now, but kritzonite and the rest of his team looking quite good, quite good indeed, as Mitsy does get a frag down. Mitsy still sitting into that corner, Numlocked getting a frag, but Fuo is probably going to manage to clean up here unless he misses absolutely everything. The Dutch Scout creatures coming in to help him out though, and we do still have that Kritzkrieg. In what way are they going to have to use it now? Fuo is still alive. I can only assume that they're going to wait for Nox to sort of be around and then use that Kritzkrieg. As I'm going to have to take a look here. Nox and the rest of Epsilon all moving upstairs. A position where it's very difficult to actually get crit stats, and it looks like they are going to move forward. When is that crit's going to get popped off? I think it's still unknown, but knowing Epsilon, they might actually do... Look, they just push in. They knew. They saw the flickering. They saw everything on the medic while they were pressuring middle, and they know exactly that he had crit skate. Pushing in into the enemy, into the quarantine combo with only 2 people, managing to get kritzonite down. That is well played for you right there.
Yeah, Mike doing big work there. I'm pretty sure they must have known it. Otherwise, it would have been a bit overzealous to go in there with just one player if they had Uber. So they must have spotted it, and they went in and just got those important frags, that Kritzonite being the all-important frag. So now it's just a big Uber advantage. But they have lost 2 players, Mike, Bash and numlocked all go down, and whenever numlocked is dead, I'm pretty sure Epsilon just back out, because he is the sort of main caller at the minute. It does change sometimes between Nox and numlocked, but he's the guy shouting out all that damage. You've heard him on Mike's stream, on his own stream. He's just really dominates the comms for Epsilon, so whenever he dies, I imagine the call is get out.
Epsilon making their way through the big door right now. Are they going to be able to catch off any of the blues? I do not think so. Like, Kalho's getting quite a bit of damage. He is actually going to get shut down. Both Mitsy and Mike actually jumping up there. Uber comes around the corner. Are they going to be able to hit this? And wow, okay. Apparently when it's a 5-0, nobody really cares about time left. That's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. We're on Source TV. And what happens when you're Source TV is that you're 90 seconds behind, but also sort of ahead in terms of this, basically. They already changed the map. They didn't wait 90 seconds for us to finish it, and the score is going to be 5-0 to Epsilon, because that's the only reason why it could possibly be finished. So thank you so much for watching here for VanillaTV. Second map is coming up, Snakewater, and if Tarkus's prediction is correct, we're going to see a closer map on Snakewater than we just saw on Gullywash, where Epsilon completely wiped the floor with Quarantine. Well played to them here. Week 3 ETF2L Season 14, powered by Twitch.tv. With VanillaTV casting with pleasure that we're on the mics. We'll see you right here in, well, about a minute or so. We'll be right back. I lied, it's not a minute. It's 10 seconds. Maybe James has decided to have a minute break.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, so yeah, my man of the map, Tarkus, definitely going huge there with the 5-0 prediction. Didn't see that coming.
I think everyone saw the 5-0 coming, to be fair. And Thurgosaurus, by the way, no, my last name is not pronounced that way. But everyone always keeps saying it, so I kind of keep at it. You're allowed to call me that. It's fine.
What is your name? Patrick Fox.
Patrick Fuchs. It's not Patrick Fox. It's Patrick Fuchs.
You say potato, I say potato.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, we'll see. Again, guys, we said this before the game. We didn't expect this, at least on Gullywash, to be very close. What we did expect is this to just be really a learning value for any of you players watching out there. Epsilon is so unbelievably good at this game when they're playing against anyone apart from Broder, Crack Clan, or Americans. Not all Americans, a certain amount of certain Americans, but
I'm pretty sure they smashed Crack Clan as well, so don't include me in that list. I can't handle that pressure.
Okay, so not even Crack Clan, it's just Broder and Americans, and well, Crack Clan did okay last season in the finals. Let's put it that way. They're definitely there are worse teams out there, Admirable. Let's put
in
it
practice at the minute, we're generally getting destroyed by Epsilon. Gullywash is probably the only map where we've been putting up a decent fight, and they just smashed that one 5-0. So I'm not holding a candle here for quarantine. Doesn't look good for them. Except for Tarkus. Tarkus has unshakable faith in quarantine's ability to get a point out of this. So there you have it.
Apparently they're switching servers, which KnOxXx is sharing in the server. I'm honestly not exactly sure. I'm gonna need to get extra. Are you gonna message anyone from Epsilon, or should I?
Some of our amazing staff at VanillaTV are surely on top of this. Some of our many assistants.
No, I already
my
messaged
PA.
I already messaged Schocky, so we'll have to wait and see. We'll get the info here in just a bit, as we're going to be switching servers, guys. You can stay on the Source TV. If you're on the Source TV and listening here in Mumble, please feel free to stay in Source TV. If you're on stream, just stay on stream. Everything's going to be arranged for you perfectly fine. And I do have the info. When you've played against Epsilon, James, and I'm going to ask you this up front, what's their main strength? Is it just that they have no weakness on any sort of front, basically? Like their scout, their soldiers, their demo, and their medic are all good? Or is it something else? Is it something like teamwork?
Well, obviously you got numlocked and Mike, who are just big players. And I do leave out Bash and Stefan because, like, they're just unbelievable. Everybody knows they're great, but I think, you know, numlocked, it's not just the fact that he's a great demo man and can put out a lot of damage. He's got a great read of the game, and he really does sort of take control of their comms and gives them a lot of energy and sort of momentum in their game. But again, Mike is just this, he's like the DM king in terms of soldiering, and he comes up with a lot of frags you wouldn't expect. You know, like in situations where you would expect whoever's coming up against Mike to maybe come out on top, he can produce these frags and things that just always allow Epsilon to turn bad situations around. But obviously Schocky has like been the best scout in Europe for quite some time. Some people would say Cookie, but Schocky really changed the way that people played scout with his sort of jumping around, dodging style. People have started to deal with that a lot better actually in recent seasons, and he doesn't even play TF2 that much anymore. But I wouldn't say they're all amazing players. Like Mitsy really has to prove himself this season. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm actually managing to achieve some sort of coherent point here, Pledge, but I think their biggest strength is their teamwork and their calls, and they just focus really well. I know it's like TF2 cliches, focus, fire, and sort of commit for each other, but they really do just react very quickly. Like, they make decisions, good decisions, but they make them very quickly. Like you see on Gullywash, they'll be pushing choke 1 second and get your attention, and then the next time you notice they're pushing in already at big door and you're stranded. And they just like pick teams apart this way so brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's not just their deathmatch, which they are great at, it's just like their whole system of playing is great.
They come out of nowhere and they hit you from every single angle when you least expect it.
Yeah, they've got great timing. Like, you'll sometimes hear numlocked on the VODs or on the stream, and like make timing calls like 1, 2, 3, go in. Things like this are just very small details, but they just mean that you're always fighting 5 or 6 people instead of just like a couple of separate fights. They're just really good at working for each other.
I'll see how all of that is going to help him out here.